Hello everyone, this is CJNovo992 and today we're back for the brand new video and we're here to talk about an actual game. Again, you know what I mean? I feel like we've been pretty positive this week. We've had some fun topics right here on the channel. We've kind of looked to the future, some of the young players who could potentially play. We then had the sort of Rangers roundup where we talked about the takeover finally being acknowledged by both parties and everything like that. That's edging closer. The introduction of a sporting director that's had experience tidying up messes and didn't used to just put teas out for the boys and got promoted because he's a nice guy. And then even on Friday with the rumours of us potentially signing the likes of Josh Mulligan and strengthening our overall squad with a boy that actually likes to tackle the football. It's been a positive week. But then once again, the weekend comes and we need to watch your team play, and genuinely, the worst part about being a Rangers fan right now is actually having to watch us play games. And that might seem like a wee bit of a daft line, but go ahead and think about that. I think that's 100% spot on, because right now where we are in the season's kind of been where we've been for a wee while in terms of the football, and it's poor. There's so many players that are absolute dross in the team. I've said for a long time this is the worst Rangers team I've ever seen play in the top flight, and I think some of them are the most unlikable players we've ever had in a Rangers team in my personal opinion, right? But if you take away what they do at the weekend, there is some bright spots, there is some conversation points, there is some good things to potentially be focusing on, but we constantly get dragged back to watching the dross, and it's painful and chronic to watch as once again Rangers drop points, and again once again this Rangers team fails to turn up. But see, at the same time, honestly, and just let me know in the comment section below, did anyone think it was going to be different when they seen that starting 11, right? I know Baylor Rice got to get a start, brilliant. Even Nisala getting to start, but again, that's because Balogun is injured, pretty good. But then you're sitting scanning the rest of the team. You're seeing Egeman no being facilitated as the main nine. You're seeing another back five, right? And I get it. People say we need to play the back five right now, and I do understand why occasionally we need to do, but this is another game of football where we've played 5 defenders in the game, yet we've still conceded 2. We're needing to play 5 at the back these days to cover and try and protect people that constantly gets exploited. But instead of weakening your team and limiting us and moving us to a more of a defensive side, should we not maybe just take the players out that are getting exploited and try something a wee bit different? You know what I mean? Coming into this post-split, I want to win all 5 games. If I get the job permanently, I'll make this club better. Barry, I would love to believe that, because you are my hero, and as a player, absolutely untouchable, and as a man, I'll always look up to you. But as a manager, you are driving me absolutely mental, because you went into this game of football relying on the players that's failed all season long, and it's failed 2 managers against St Mirren. Do you know we've only picked up 4 points out of a possible 12 versus St Mirren this season? That's the facts, and that's reality. We had lost the previous 2 games before coming in to this one, and what's our mentality, what's our approach with the dead rubbers or meaningless games that's left to play, is to do the exact same thing air and air again. You didn't need me to tell you that's insanity, because we've all shared it and lived it, but that's what we do time and time and time again. Honestly, I wish I could fast forward to the end of this season, because it's been one of the worst I've ever seen. And I truly mean that. I mean, I've been the internet's punching bag through the ward button, Pedro and a bush, Murray doing headstands, the lot, the embarrassments that used to come with getting slaughtered and dominated every old firm. I've seen bad Rangers teams. I've been a supporter during bad times, but when you sit and you look at how much some of these players are getting paid and the way they go about their business, strolling about, walking about, half-arsing it here, half-arsing it here, yet still, despite a managerial change, despite a coaching change, the exact same players are rewarded for failing. The fan base with starts week in, week out. Honestly, I just need this season over with, and I need a lot of these players to be gone. Whatever manager is appointed, whether it is Gerrard, which honestly I do think it will end up being Gerrard, and I'm not saying that's right or wrong by the way, but I just feel like that's what it's going to be. There needs to be tough conversations, and whoever we put in that dugout needs to be big enough to make the decisions that Clement, with one of the greatest CVs we've seen attached to Rangers in the last couple of years, wasn't big enough and brave enough today. His arrogance thought he could turn around these duffers, and if they continued to play his way, he'd get the best of them, right? It was Beale's fault, it was training, it was this, it was this, it was this. I can do it. He couldn't. Barry's came in, haven't seen that for 2 years come crumbling down, and he's went in there and thought, I can fix it. You can't fix these players. They aren't fixable toys. They are not good enough to be Rangers players or be successful Rangers players. And again, you just sit and look at games like this and you can see why, even without any pressure on them, even no chasing leagues or anything like that or needing to win, there was no pressure on them at all, yet they still can't go ahead and beat the likes of St Mirren, where again, no disrespect, I give a lot of praise to St Mirren. Every preview, every league prediction video, I think the way they go about their business considering their budget is sensational. The fact they keep knocking out these top sixes despite the players they occasionally lose year upon year has been a brilliant job. But let's just be honest, a lot of people will hear all that and they'll look down on the St Mirren. There's a lot of people in our fan base that looks at 90% of Scottish football as absolute dross and crap. They'll look at them and be like, none of them is good enough, and they actually get frustrated and they actually get annoyed when we're linked with the likes of the Lyle Camerons and the Josh Mulligans, and we're looking at some of these players and nah, they're no good enough, whilst falling in love with A, B, C, D, E, F and G for YouTube because they've got a cool 2-minute reel and they've not heard of them before. And then we go ahead and get all these players, we spend all the money, we spend over the odds giving them ridiculous wages, and then we bring all the pretty names and all the pretty highlight reels to our team, and then guess what? They can't go ahead and beat what we turn our nose up to week in and week out, and that's the frustration, that's the mentality issue right here. We constantly overlook Scottish football, and week in, week out, it comes back to bite us and our team and the coaching staff and the club on its arse time and time again. And I'm sick of it. The entire mentality needs to change. We need people in and around that dressing room that relishes playing Scottish football. Is it the best league in the world? No. Is it the greatest football? No. Some of it is tragic to watch, but what it is, it's physical, and you need to be committed and you need to work your absolute arse off for the first minute to the last, because that's what we play every week, and that's what we drop points to near every damn week. And that's just where I am, ladies and gentlemen. Going back to the managerial conversation, we are putting all our entire stock in players that aren't up for that fight, whether they're nice guys or no. Nice guys finish last, and again, I'm sick of finishing last, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what I'm seeing for this Rangers team. So no matter who it is in the dugout, and if there anything concrete does end up falling from that tree that I continue to shake, trying to find out for yous right here on the channel, they have to be big enough to look at what we've got in our team and be like, 90% of it isn't good enough, and I can pick him, and maybe that's it. We need a complete clearance of the decks, and I know that's very unrealistic and it's no going to happen, but there's nailed on starters week in and week out. If they're going to be here next year, they can't be starters anymore. Maybe some of them goes to a squad player, maybe they can come and do a job, because it is a grind, it is physicality, there will be injuries, but the starting 11 today, if 90% of that starting again next season, we are in big trouble. And I guess that leads me to a couple of the players that I want to talk about today, because when the full-time whistle went, I wasn't surprised. Again, I saw the starting 11, I saw the 5 at the back, I saw we're going to get exploited out in the whiff again. I knew Dessers was going to miss golden opportunity. It's the same crap we get delivered time and time again, and it is a major problem why we're not using the last month or two, or especially the next 5 games up to obviously this one 4 after that, to develop something for the future. No, we're sinking with the ship that's been going down for a long time. But there is a couple of players that stood out, and genuinely when the full-time whistle went, I sat back and I went, I'm not surprised, but I almost felt sorry for the likes of Raskin today. You know what I mean? See, when you see Raskin running about, even though he had a bit of a tough battle with Phillips and they were going back and forth, he had his couple save ones, he gave a couple save ones, he was on a yellow, it could have been a walking red card, but right up to the 95th minute when he wins the ball and he charges and he sprints down the line, outrunning everybody, tries to cut it back, and no enough people's gambling or making the right runs in and amongst the box to really attack it. I just sat back and says, that's a guy that's a Belgian internationalist, and he's still trying harder than everybody else on the park, and it's no me being a fanboy, it's clear to see if everyone had the same attitude, work rate and appetite as he did, we'd be in a much, much better time. But again, there's so many boys just sleepwalking and waiting for the end of the season that, oh shucks, we never won it this year, I'll be back next year on my hefty contract and we'll try again. Nah, troops, genuinely I felt sorry for Raskin today. Stood out a mile, and maybe the cruel irony is when I'm sitting thinking about who I want to be in the team next year and who I want to see in the starting 11 and who we could potentially rely on to eventually build a successful Rangers team, Raskin would be one of those names I would rely on. But again, the cruel irony is he is probably only one of two, maybe the Amanda and that as well, of our sellable assets. That's the only types of people we'll be able to sell, because see the rest of the dross that absolutely kills any hope this club's ever going to have of being successful. Who's going to pay what we need for them, and who's going to give the wages we were stupid enough to give them? That's the sad part. It'll be the likes of Raskin that'll go, it'll be the Amanda that goes in the summer, and we'll be stuck with the boys that have been drowning this club for too long. And honestly, I know it's a dead rubber and it's meaningless to a lot of people, but I'm annoyed at the starting 11. I'm annoyed at the fact that we just played 96, 97 minutes and Danilo was an unused substitute. That's a guy we spent a lot of money on. That's a guy that's on a lot of wages. That's a guy, when he's actually been able to get on the park, looks a wee bit like a player. He's got a good understanding with the likes of Eggman. Danilo's the one that drops a wee bit deeper. Eggman usually leads the line. Is that why he's not playing? Because we need Dessers to lead the line. Is that what's going on? I'm seeing Finlay Curtis sign a new contract in January, and what's he had? One start. Since then, he's fell all the way behind up to that point before Lawrence broke down again. You know what I mean? Water is wet. But he fell down behind the likes of Lawrence in the rotation, and he can't even get any game time today, despite what was going wrong. And even Mr. Obligation to buy Oscar Cortez, we are all circling and marking these types of games down for potentially gearing these players up and giving them more valuable experience. There's 3 names there we talked about, and a dead rubber versus St Mirren when the league's already gone and second's already secured, yet we still cannot go ahead and play the likes of that. Why? Because we have to continue to play and pin all our hopes on people that's already failed us. Aussies, it just doesn't make any freaking sense, in my opinion. But none about this club has for a while. All I can hope is this takeover comes, the sporting director is able to work some of his magic he done at Everton, getting rid of a lot of the unsellable assets that was drowning Everton. Hopefully does that with the Rangers team. And again, whoever's in that dugout needs to actually be aware and didn't have the ego that we've seen too long in the dugout, thinking they're able to turn things round, and they know better than Clement, they know better than Barry, they know better than Michael Beale, they know better than all these players. They just didn't have it. And sometimes that happens. They could go on to be elsewhere where the pressure's not as high and they didn't need to win every week. They'll maybe play good 1 out of 5 games down there and they'll be like, oh, what happened? How did they not make it at Rangers? It's a completely different standard of player that you need right here. And I just look at the dressing room, and when you look at the squad, they 25 names. How many genuinely would you say you'd put all your hopes in trying to win you a league title? But let's get into the game recap then, because it shouldn't take us too long. Again, the starting 11 disappointed me despite the inclusion of the likes of Baylor Rice and Nasala. And some people say, well, you want Baylor Rice to play? Was he magnificent today? No, he wasn't, and he'll no be like this, because again, he's behind on his development because he's no getting the game time. This period of time is supposed to get him up to speed. He done some nice things today, a couple beautiful passes in behind that probably should have resulted in a wee bit better for Dessers, and I think he played one to Jeff which was real just offside, even though I don't think it actually was. There was something you could see there, but there is stuff he clearly needs to get better at, and that's the same with a couple of other young laddies in the actual team, the likes in Salah, who had done some nice things today and then never done some there. But again, this is what these games are supposed to be for. I'm learning, and these young players are learning stuff about themselves, and they will get better. They're no journeyman that's bounced from club to club for the damn year 12 year, and in their 30s or near their 30s it's not going to get any better. This is what it takes now, and this is what we should be doing. So I've not got a problem with the likes of Baylor. I said even the Sal, who I think could have done better, and I'm probably jumping too far ahead for the first goal, needs to get that a wee bit away, but he was in and amongst it, and he done alright in my personal opinion. It was actually the more experienced players that was really selling the jerseys today, and again, I've said this many times, if John Suter's name was Connor Goldson, people would be speaking a lot more harshly about him, but he has 2 big brain farts, and it's a shame because again, he'll do things great for up to appear, and you think, right, maybe we can rely on him. Maybe he is that guy. And then you see 2 or 3 games where he plays like that, and you go, oh, yeah, I can see why he was number 3 and 4 when Balogun was fit, when Goldson was fit, etc., etc. You can see why he was so far off. And say what you want about Goldson and all that, I still think Goldson now is better than Souttar. But I've said that a long time, and I get cooked every time on Twitter for saying it. But I will move on. But Souttar's brain fart again as he just delays on the ball too long. He ends up losing it. He gives O'Hara a chance to pick out, but actually Proper does some pretty good defending / gets a wee bit lucky as O'Hara tries to do a wee cut back. It's not the greatest, and Proper cleans up Souttar's mess that he's made just when he doesn't need to. But again, some promise happened, and that was down the left-hand side of Nasali. Chips a beautiful ball into Dessers, and to be fair, he's out wide, brings it down very nice, hits on target, forces a save, bit of a camera save for the goalie, but I like Dessers, bringing it down, taking a touch, showing a bit of composure, forcing the goalie into a save. What happened next, however, is just a problem with Dessers, and again, I wanted to love him. I really try my best, and there is times where I think maybe he will change me, but you've probably found since the cup final, I have been a wee bit more harsh to Dessers. I just felt like he shat it and filled his nappy on that day, allowing a goalkeeper and a left back. I don't care if somebody tells me he was 6 on the list. If you're a number 9 for Rangers, you didn't hide behind a left back, and you didn't hide behind a goalie in a penalty shootout. But this is why, for me, we can't rely on him to win us a title. This is why we need somebody to actually be a number 9, and why we should be prioritising the likes of Eggman, despite him maybe not being able to make the same runs as Dessers, or maybe that. Do you know why Dessers is good at making the runs? Because he's 30 years old and he's bounced from league to league, club to club. He's got experience and game time in that role, so of course he's going to do some things better, but there is some things you can't teach people, and that is being clinical in front of goal. And the 8th, no, what was it, sorry, about the 10th minute of the game is why we'll never win anything. Gorgeous ball for Diamande, and the people that love stats and are often criticising of Diamande, this is another assist. There should be a wonderful ball to Dessers, who again is through on goal. He actually does pretty well. He brings it down, and then he just hits a volley, but he doesn't hit it right at the goalie, which is usually Dessers' MO, but he completely whiffs it so far that it goes out the stadium. That's your number 9, 1v1 with the goalie with nobody on him. He just needs to score there and set us on our way. But he's ballooned it out of the stadium, and it's another massive miss for the guy that gets constantly picked and prioritised as the number 9. But then there was a massive lull in the game, and it was absolute torture. We keep hearing the people are drilled in, we've had the conversations, we've told them what they need to do, they're showing it in training, they're showing it, and then they just have spells of the game where it's so painfully boring that there's nothing I can talk about for 18 minutes. For us missing that sitter, there's none to talk. It's so slow, it's so passive, it's just long ball after. It's torture to watch. But anyway, the next big chance actually came because of our own faults once again, as Liam Kelly passes it right to Mandron, and Mandron ends up smashing it at the bar, pulling his Dessers impersonation, thankfully, by the way. It's again poor for Kelly, and he's had his wee moment. It was great to see, and he does make a good save later on to save Souttar's blushes again, but it's this type of stuff. It's this forcing the need to try and play out for the back when goalkeepers aren't. I'd just prefer them just to boot it away. See if they're not comfortable with it. Why are we asking them to do it? Why do we need to try and copy Pet? Why do we need to try and copy that? Just play to your strengths. That's something you get told. No like Sunday. That's something you get told when you're just literally coming through any age. So just play to your strengths. Our strengths aren't fanning about at the back. Why on earth do we keep doing it? At that moment, again, there was another lull. Now, there was a nice wee moment for Phillips for St Mirren, where he tries to actually drag it away for Proper and then hits a Rabona shot that's well saved by Kelly. But then that's it. That's all you can talk about up to the 40th minute of the game. 4 incidences. That's all we can muster. That's us at our best. That's them motivated. That's them understanding what's required to play for Rangers. But again, we're saying all this. We know they're going to get picked next week. We know they're going to get picked the week after that. So what we actually talking about here? Anyway, there was eventually a wee bit of football that sort of burst out the seams for the long ball, needless football, and it was great. Proper steps out, you know what I mean? It's actually well played for him. He zips it into Bailey Rice. Bailey Rice brilliantly to Raskin. Raskin feeds it to the feet of Dessers, who does take a nice wee touch, cuts it, hits it first time, instinctual, just smashes it low, keeps it low. The goalie is beaten as it sort of, he thinks he's gone the other way, ends up going underneath him, and it's a brilliant team goal. And again, if Dessers could do that a bit more consecutively, or consistently I should say, he could be a very, very handy player for us. But again, he's already missed the golden opportunity to give us the perfect start. But again, it's a brilliant team goal in the 40th minute. Proper to Rice, to Raskin, to Dessers. Fair play. That's the spine of the team coming together and creating a very, very good goal. And you think, right, that's no bad, isn't it? Aye, before you could even take a sip of your juice, it's back to 1-1, and you think, it's just painful to watch, man. And again, unfortunately, in the Salah, and I think maybe, as much as I've said about Raskin, I felt sorry for him. Is he losing his man here? Is he a wee bit sleeping here? Probably. But again, the Salah, not really good enough with the clearance. We're not dealing with a long throw. It ends up dropping to O'Hara, who's completely left wide open. Nobody is near him. And it's a good finish, keeping it low. Very similar to Dessers. But again, there's a guy that's wide open at the edge of the box. That's us again not being able to deal with a single header. This isn't the last month. This isn't the last 6 months. This has been years worth of issues. Yet we still haven't fixed them at all. No matter what manager or coaching staff comes in, is it maybe the players we're relying on? Have we not got enough characters? Is there not enough leaders in the team? We've not got the right people in there that actually fancy playing in this league. I don't know what the answer is. I truly didn't. I wish I did, because I would be able to scream it through the rooftops, but it's the same goal we concede week in and week out. But again, O'Hara scores a good goal, tucks it away, it's 1-1, and that's the way it goes in at half time. Now, the one thing you could say about the second half is it actually started off pretty positively, and that was because we started playing the ball a wee bit quicker across the grunt. Again, Proper involved in this one. He's nearly playing right wing. At one point, he zips it in to Diomande. Diomande then plays a ball first time to Raskin, and what I love here is Raskin's on the half turn. He brings it and he doesn't stop to wait for anybody. He doesn't do that. He takes it on the half turn, charges towards the box, ignores Dessers. Aye, I would say at this point, and just shoots it. And you can see Dessers, he's screaming, going, why, pass to me, why? Oh, it's in. Like that. And it's like, brilliant for Raskin. And maybe that's something he needs to take his game to the next level, and something he should be doing a wee bit better. But again, there was some football that slipped out in our game plan today, and when we actually played it across the ground, and it was first time, and it was attacking football, and it was quick, we created and done some good stuff. But again, it's just lost in this slow, pandering, long ball style of football that is torture to watch. And this is going to annoy a lot of people that's watching this, but do you know the way Raskin sort of turned on the half turn and then shot? He actually makes me think that's very similar to what I think Lyle Cameron could potentially do. Again, I'm not saying, oh, that's how you win a league title or that, but see the games that Cameron's going to play, whether it is going to be rotation in here, playing here for midweek in Europe or anything like that, or playing, sorry, at the weekend because we played in Europe. That's the type of goal Lyle Cameron scores for Dundee. On the half turn, turns right away, runs and shoots, and that's where we need to get better. That instinctive finishing, that instinctive attacking play, and it's something I hope to see for Cameron next season when he does get in that starting 11. But again, brilliant football for Rangers. It's just a shame we see it twice in a game. Now, you might be wondering, we've just scored a great goal and played some nice football, so where's the brain fart, CJ? Where away our worst enemy? Well, it comes for John Souttar. Kelly plays it to Souttar. He's got Tavernier on the right, he's got Proper on the left, he's got three St Mirren players at him. And which choice does John make? I'll give you a couple seconds. Does he take A, which is pass the simple ball to Tavernier? Does he take B, playing it to Proper? Or does he take C and just get the ball away? Or does he take option D, and that's he try to take on three St Mirren players at the edge of his own box? Let's hear some answers down in the comments. That's right, he tries to take on all three players. He gets his scants pulled down. It then gets played 1v1 with Kelly, and Kelly does a brilliant save with his feet as well, and it's massive right there in the game, because again, that was just St Mirren peppering. That was just self-inflicted. That was their crowd getting up and us going, what the hell are we doing? It's another massive brain fart for big Soapy Souttar, and thankfully Kelly was big enough on that occasion to make the big save. Now, there was a potential penalty for St Mirren in the 68th minute, I think there was, when there was a lengthy VAR check. Now, it is on the Salah. I can't remember the exact St Mirren player, sorry, I'm completely blanking. But anyway, they play a ball down the channel, it's at the edge of the box, he ends up going down, and I'm thinking, oh, that could be in trouble there, because it didn't look good from behind. Then I see the VAR, and then I see the player kick the ball, And as soon as he kicks it, he starts to go down. You call it the Todd Cantwell, if you will. You know exactly what I'm talking about. He kicks the ball and then his feet are already doing. I didn't think this is a penalty at all. And after a lengthy VAR check, they still give the free kick. But I truly believe, because it was a penalty check, they've realised he's dived. They went, we can't give the penalty. Let's just give the free kick and let's get out of here. And I didn't think this is a foul at all. And thankfully, Declan John was running riot versus Tavernier in 2025. I shouldn't be hearing the name James Henry Tavernier and Declan John in the same sentence in 2025. But here I am, trapped in hell, ladies and gentlemen. But anyway, thankfully, Declan blasts the ball, way wide, and we get away with that one. But again, there's just no enough quality. There's just no enough bite. There's just no enough people in the right positions gambling to get us forward. And you're only playing into the hands for the team that's got something to play for. And that is St Mirren. They end up playing a long ball. I think Proper gets sucked out too easily here. But again, this one is on Suter and Tavernier. As much as we could try and blame Proper because we didn't really like him compared to the rest, if we're just looking at fairly, Suter gets took to the shops and gets turned like his first name's Tina and just spinned out the way. And then Tavernier is just nailed. He's sucked inside. He just leaves a massive gap. He's slow to turn. It's like watching a cart try to turn. Remember that Austin Powers scene for that movie when he's like stuck in the corridor and he's like that? Aye, that's Tavernier trying to turn right now, and that hurts me to say because I love the skipper for everything that he's done at this club, but he's done. Like, he's done. Unfortunately, gets beat, they play the ball across and it's a tap into the back post and Kelly's gone absolutely mental. And not only his defence that's evaporated like toilet roll the second it hits water, but also screaming at his midfield for not tracking any runners. I think most of his wrath was at Diamande at that stage as he ran right up to him and he was having a bit of a go, which I've got no problem with. That should be accountability for these horrendous mistakes. Now we did go ahead and make some changes at this point. The likes of Dessers came off for the likes of Cherny, and there was a couple wee nearly moments, you know what I mean, wee cross here, wee thing here, it just wouldn't have fought Eggman here. But again, the best opportunity came in the 95th minute where Raskin takes it amongst himself to actually put some pressure on down the left hand side because Cherny hasn't put anything on. He comes right here, wins the ball bravely, because if he mistimes that he's sent halfway a second yellow and everything like that. But he gets in, nips it, sprints to the byline, gets his head up, plays it right into the mirror, and you've got Eggman, you've got Raskin, you've got... I'm completely whiffing, sorry, on the other player there, but none of them make the right. They all make the same run. They're all running with each other when you've just got to attack the right areas, and it's another major blunder. And it's what you sit and look at Rangers team. We're so poor at that, like running in the right and having people say, I'll attack the front post, I'll do the back post, and I'll attack the six. We didn't do that. Everyone just seems to run in the right way. It's like, are we coaching ourselves to attack the right areas? Because we're not coaching ourselves to defend. So what the hell are we doing? Rondons for 24 hours a day. And by the way, I did forget Raskin did slide a ball in for Cherny that did force Harry into a good save in the sticks just prior to that one. And Eggman does take an elbow for Gogic, but he gets away with it because you know how it goes. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. The whistle comes. Is it a deserving point share? Probably. If not, St Mirren's maybe a wee bit annoyed they never got it. But again, the clear-cut chances we created to kill the game off, and people can say, oh well, but he still scored and he's still done that. See, scoring early in a game and it kills the crowd and it just makes the players a wee bit nervous. It starts to rip up some game plan and it gets us going up. That was all the mentality side of the game. It's not a computer game. It's no stats and statistics and people are getting too lost on it. It's an emotion game, or it used to be. It's coming a wee bit more emotionalist, but it is all about that. And if you score early in a game, that's putting all our team under pressure. That's giving you a boost, but we never take the clear-cut opportunities. And I think if you look at a Rangers team these days, if you were the opposition, you'd be saying, right, they're going to give some chances to us and we're actually going to get away with it here because they'll miss chance after chance. It takes them 12 chances to score a goal. So I really fancy their chances. They're very, very little fear factor in this Rangers team. And that's what you see. Gerrard done very well. And I'm not turning this into a Gerrard thing, by the way. I know I've already mentioned him, so people are going to be saying that. But Gerrard brought a fear factor back to this club a wee while ago, especially at Ibrox when we're scanting teams 7-1 and 8-0 and blah, 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 blah. There was a wee bit a fear factor, but slowly but surely you've seen that completely whittle away to we're playing teams like St Mirren, nay disrespect, that's beat us twice this year and drew with us. We've only beat them once at that. That's how far we've fallen, and we've gave records to team after team after team we have played, yet we'll look at their players and say none of them are good enough. We like these guys, but these guys are failing to that and giving the teams that we look down on records every single time. It's completely backwards and all wrong. We need a big culture change in that dressing room, and we need mentality. We need boys that actually want to play in Scottish football, that aren't just here for the European show. And again, we need somebody in the dugout that's going to make the big decisions that need to be made, because if we didn't, troops, this could be a long, painful period of supporting this team, despite a takeover. Again, if we bring in the wrong manager and they're picking them up, it's the same 11. Do you imagine that? Imagine going into the next season and seeing the same people leading the line, or back here or there and there. It'd be absolutely disastrous. But again, that's a story for another day. Disappointed at the starting 11, disappointed about the game itself, and disappointed about pretty much everything, barring a couple wee moments for the players. And now that Barry has lost his I'm here to win every game because I want to do the job, and if I get it permanently, I'll improve this club. Now that that's gone, now let's be honest about that. Can we just start putting something in place for next season? Please, Barry, I hate criticising you. I really do. But I've got to, man. You're making the same mistakes that Clement did. And we all slaughtered Clement. So we have to do it right there. And that's crap. You know what I mean? I want to be singing. I want to be enjoying myself. But I can't. And it's because we keep repeating the same madness. And you're probably sick to death of hearing me talking about it. But aye, hopefully our next video, whether that may be very shortly or maybe soon, is a much more happier topic. And we go ahead and talk about that and lift some moods. But again, the football is the worst part of being a Rangers fan right now, because it's absolutely chronic. But what do you think? Am I being too harsh? Is it this? Is it just the point of the season? Is nobody baller? Is it holiday mode? Etc, etc. I just think with what's failed this season, they should be given. They can't be limping out this way because it's no good enough. And if they're playing like that, they shouldn't be rewarded with starts again. And that's my personal opinion. What about you? Let me know down there in the comments section below. Feel free to scream at me and tell me it doesn't matter, so that you're no bothered if that's how you feel. But I'll see you in the next video where hopefully I've got a smile on the dish. That would be very, very nice. But until next time, sorry for seeing me 4 times in the last 4 days. I'll give you a couple days off. But until then, I've been Siege992. Thank you so much for watching. All the best and bye-bye. That was really weird because I used my other hand. I don't know if anyone's noticing that, but my OCD's crazy right now. So, yeah, bye.